right? So beyond a reasonable doubt is a standard that is so high, is a burden that's so high. But I mean, it could be
including your freedom of speech.
Sure, but it could be.
But we're taking away your freedom of speech before you're even convicted. You're just charged, and we're going to take away your freedom of speech.
It could be beyond.
Destiny gets schooled on his own show, The Omni-Liberal, by this pro-MAGA attorney from New York for his foolish statements in this clip as Destiny and this lawyer debate free speech, and Destiny gets caught by his own logic as this attorney exposes Destiny's flawed argument for silencing people. Let's get in.
Whistleblower who they're looking to gag that's in the middle, going through the whole process of being gagged. This guy's 20,000 followers. And he only has 20,000 followers because he became a whistleblower. He's relatively in social media landscape. He's a nobody. And the state has said, "Oh, he's too much of a threat. We have to silence him." Do you think that that's a healthy perspective for our court to take? That hey, if someone's going to tweet out things that the government doesn't like, that means that we need to silence them.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Why would you say that?
So I think the first thing we have to consider is there are definitely times where even our fundamental rights could be taken from us. We can say, whether we're talking about the state coming after them, right? When you try to figure out what form of review you should engage in, right? Rational basis, intermediate scrutiny, strict scrutiny. There are times where even under strict scrutiny, a fundamental right could be implicated that the state will survive a Supreme Court analysis from, where they can deprive us of a given right. There are times when even political speech can be implicated. The Supreme Court has developed balancing tests for that, like in Brandenburg v. Ohio, to figure out if you're directly inciting somebody to violence, where speech can be violent.
Right.
And then we have criminal statutes related to conspiracy to commit crimes, which those conspiracies could involve no crime in and of itself, but rather the fact that you've made a plan to do a crime and then you've taken one step towards it, even if those two things on their own aren't illegal, both of them together with the speech element included can be a crime, right? And I think these are pretty easy things where we all agree that like these are things that are probably good to limit our speech in some way on these things, right? But I do agree that it should be like very narrowly and specifically tailored, right? If somebody says, "I hate my teacher, I just want to blow this place up," that's not enough, right? You need two people, you need a step taken towards an we need more. That's important. I agree. I think that one thing that I guess conceptually I would want to kind of push on a little bit is you say the state and then you say the defendant. I would argue to some extent that the state is also kind of a little bit the embodiment of the people as well, right? That when you're talking about especially criminal law, the public has an interest in seeing crime prosecuted, right? That's why they're criminal laws. That's why we have police officers. We've all decided there are certain things in society we shouldn't do in a criminal aspect, right?
I'm letting you finish your point before I respond to that.
So I think that I do agree that also as a society, we've decided that there is a burden on the state to prove crimes to a very, very, very high standard, that they have a very stringent set of rules that they're required to follow in how they gather that evidence and how they present it to the court. In every step is very important here. But I think that narrowly tailored gag orders around defendants that might be using extrajudicial processes to try to influence the outcome of that case. So, for instance, I think when it came to Trump, it was attacking the family member of the judge.
Judge McCann's daughter, Laura McCann.
Yeah. Or implicating like members of the jury. I don't know if Trump was doing that, but implications of like members of the jury or whatever. These are things where I don't see these serving a really good, if any, free speech purpose at all. But I do see how they could heavily intervene in that process of the adjudication of the trial itself. And much the same that somebody might say, well, gagging this person is hurting our freedom of speech because now it's been politicized. I think on the opposite end, you could say, well, this person is so popular and they have so much power with their speech that now they can politically survive any case because they can just make the appropriate threats or the appropriate statements to have a favorable outcome every time. And I think that is equally as concerning, I think, to an ordinary citizen.
I think that's a dangerously foolish perspective to look at the state as another entity, just like a person.
To look what?
You're looking at the state. You premised all of this as looking at the state as a litigant or a party here, and you didn't look at the unique position of the state. And you said because of their elected officials and their representative body of the people, in that case we can view them as if they are the people. Which by that logic, you don't need to have a Bill of Rights.
I like how the MAGA attorney prefaced everything with, hey, do you think it's a good thing for the government to go after people who say things that they don't like? And Destiny's just like, yeah, sure. And then he tries to justify all the things of why the government should go after people for saying things that the government doesn't like. I mean, Destiny has called for Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all of these people to be completely deplatformed, utterly and completely, for spewing lies. Destiny said that. He's talking about everyone else being the platform, but not him. No, his lies and his BS, that's fine. It's always rules for thee and not for me. But I do like the point that this lawyer made at the very end, talking about, saying that they're kind of one and the same. There needs to be a distinction. Like when there isn't a distinction, that's when you get communism. That's when you get the Soviet Union. That's when you get, the CCP, all that stuff. Like, no. The government is a separate entity in service of the people. That's why we have a Bill of Rights. That's why we have rules separating people from the state. That's why we have jury nullification. That's why we have all of these things that says the state is one thing and the people are another, but they are two different things. They may be representative, but that's why you can, sue the state of wherever you're in, and you're suing someone else because they're the ones who wronged you. And that's always the fear, that government has too much power, and that's why there needs to be a separation. And that's also why you need to have free speech. So when the government is doing all of these wrong, terrible, horrible things, we, the people, can actually say them and point them out. I guess Destiny didn't do enough research on Wikipedia to figure that point out. But let me know in the comments what you think and leave a like. Let's get back in.
Logic, by that logic, you don't have to worry about anything as far as the state running amok, as far as the state being in danger, which is something that historically, when you look back to our founding fathers and to the thousands of years of historical precedent before that, you can say the state is notorious for trampling people. And you're saying, well, the state is now the representative body of the people, therefore they're not a threat. They have a unique position because they're the only ones who are authorized and licensed to carry guns, to press charges, throw people in jail. They have a unique position that is not remotely akin to you or me or any other assembly of people that are put together.
Sure, but we've given them that power because we feel like there are some things in society that are so bad, that are so egregious, that we want a third party.
100%.
Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. Mm-hmm. But that's why we have certain checks as to what powers and abilities they have, and say we are going to look at them as a completely different entity. So when you're trying to frame them as if, well, they're just the will of the people being asserted, that's not a fair way of looking at them.
I'm not just trying to frame them that way, but that is what they are to some extent. Yeah.
I mean, the
laws are things that our representatives pass.
Yes.
And then the police are enforcing these laws, hopefully in ways. DA is often elected or appointed position by the mayor. Your attorney general for the state is an elected position, I think, generally, or might be appointed sometimes by the governor. But these are people that they're
representative of the people. Yeah. I'm not disputing the fact that they're representative of the people.
So the people have vested their power in the courts and the executive.
That doesn't mean that they don't. Once they take that position, that they don't move into a completely different sphere than you or me. I mean, I think you recognize that.
Yeah, of course. They're entrusted with an awesome ability, and they should have restrictions on those.
And they have to have certain checks on them. Mm-hmm. And part of those checks is that, and part of the things as far as making it tougher for them, that the Supreme Court has always recognized is that you can't to look at them as if they're the same as the people. I mean, I understand that they pass a law because they're elected officials, but to say that they're the same as the people,
I've never said they're the same as the people.
Okay, so I'm not sure why you would bring that element into the entire equation.
Because I think that your framing is just viewing the state as a wholly antagonistic party that just comes down to harass ordinary citizens with their petty laws.
I think that's the concern. That's why we have a constitution.
That might be the concern. My concern right now as a citizen, and I think my concern is far more valid because now there's a convicted felon who's going to be the president. My concern is that I want criminal law enforced in the United States. I think all of us share that concern on criminal law. Why the state can literally take your rights away from you, and we all agree that that's a good thing and an okay thing.
Yeah, I definitely, obviously, I agree. I agree with having a justice system, but the idea is that the justice system has to be something that they're held to the toughest standard possible because we are giving them the unique capacity to imprison people.
I don't think they're held.
Is that a necessary evil? Is that a necessary? I wouldn't even call it evil. Is that a necessary element toward maintaining justice in our society? 100%. Obviously, I'm simply saying that I think that you're getting so bogged down because you fall in line with the perspective that he is some sort of unique evil.
I'm not even talking about Donald Trump right now, and I'm not falling in line with anything. I don't think that the goal is to make it the toughest possible. I think the goal is to make it the fairest possible.
And why do we have beyond a reasonable doubt? Why is it such a high standard, you think?
To make it as fair as possible, to make sure that people aren't being, because when we talk about a conviction in criminal court, we're depriving people of rights that are guaranteed to you under the Constitution. Negative freedoms, these are very, very big things, right? Mm-hmm. So beyond a reasonable doubt, doubt is a standard that is so high, is a burden that's so high. But I mean, it could be
including your freedom of speech.
Sure, but it could be.
But we're taking away your freedom of speech before you even convicted. You're just charged, and we're going to take away your freedom of speech.
It could be beyond a reasonable doubt. It could be 0.01%. It could be 0.001%. We could
beyond
say that
any
we
doubt.
could
You could say
we
beyond
could say
any
yeah,
doubt.
we could say that the judge has to walk to court with ankle weights on, or that we like. You can make it more burdensome if you want it, but the goal isn't just make it burdensome for the sake of being burdensome. There's an idea of fairness.
It's to be reasonably burdensome.
Yeah.
But but over here, so now you're saying as soon as a person is charged, that it's a good idea for us to silence him. And
I find it amusing that Destiny is trying to make, part of the argument in that, oh, we all agree on criminal law, of course, don't we? I don't know. Do we? I mean, we've seen New York, we've seen California, we've seen Portland, we've seen just crime being allowed to happen. We've seen crime and illegality being allowed to happen at the border. We've seen crime allowed to be used against Donald Trump and anybody else who opposes, the left. Like, I guess Destiny doesn't understand the idea of corruption, and when your government is corrupt, right? At that point, they are an enemy of the people. They are no longer serving the people's interest. They are using the people for its own interest. I don't think the left really cares about enforcing criminal law fairly and equally that much, just against those that it doesn't like, and says all the things that it doesn't like, which Destiny tried to justify that that's an okay thing to do. And now he wants to say, like, when we charge people, that you can make an argument that, you should just silence them then. It's like Destiny doesn't see all the lies that's happened over the last 8 years. Like, he's still trapped in his Trump derangement syndrome and following all the mainstream lies, and doesn't understand that all the people that Destiny wants to silence and cancel are the ones actually speaking the truth. Because even Destiny on here, he's talking about Trump as a convicted felon. Like, okay, yeah, he is convicted, but it was a bogus conviction. And I'm sure he would like to silence anyone else who tried to say, an alternate narrative other than the one that Destiny did. But folks, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what this MAGA attorney had to say to Destiny on his show, the Omniliberal Show, I guess. First time I've seen that. Thanks for watching. Take care, like and subscribe, and I'll see you folks on the next one.